G'day, mate. Welcome to Friday Facts 3:30 main menu and file share shenanigans. So, I don't know how to fit in a mojo on that one, but g'day, mate.
With a lot of Fs.
A lot of Fs. Okay.
Like there's the Friday Facts, and then 330 file share shenanigans.
There you go.
There goes Denson.
There you go.
He's been begging for it.
Oh, he has. So, this one, it's got two halves to it, and the first one's interesting. The second one's a little bit like behind the scenes sort of stuff. So, they're reworking the main menu, which didn't they just update for 17?
Visually, yes, but as far as actual layout goes, no.
I thought there was a layout change.
As far as GUI elements go, so the create scenario changed, the mod GUI changed. That was a big project that our seeding worked on for quite some time.
Yep.
And we all love him for it. The multiplayer one as well, there was a bit of, there's a few visual tweaks, but there's a lot of behind-the-scenes changes that gone into that. Like the syncing mods with the multiplayer server.
Yeah, that's
and the auto join.
Best feature ever. Best two features ever. Such a lifesaver in 17. Yep.
So yeah, so individual things that you go to have been changed, but as far as the menu itself goes, the elements have remained pretty well the same since.
It feels different. I don't know. It feels different. Probably it's just that the GUI was changed over and it just looks slightly different.
It's just the GUI.
But yeah,
because for the longest time you had to go new game, or what is it? Start game, new game, single player, something like that.
Single player, yeah, something like that. I don't know. I just click the buttons. I click the buttons so quickly now. I don't even pay attention to what they say because I've clicked the buttons many
single
times.
Player. It is single player. Yeah, you go to single player to start a new game or load game and all that, which is kind of odd.
It is. I think it comes back to the 1990s way of doing things, and.
Or even then, those usually had load and save game in the main menu.
Not always.
I can't think of any example which did. Then again, we were earlier today. We were talking about all the different game. In fact, I just thought of one then, Total Annihilation. The one that started the whole conversation this morning actually doesn't.
Yeah.
It actually has quite a convoluted menu structure.
It does. So, it depends on the game. Anything that I remember that was multiplayer compatible and really had more multiplayer than single player had a menu much like what Factorio does now. Whereas nowadays, the way they're talking about outlining the menu is pretty common across all games. So, on to what they actually say. So Twinson did the main menu. He was always confused about the difference between start campaign, new game, and scenarios. New game seems like the same thing as scenarios free play, which is one way you can actually access basically a new game with just clicking the mouse more times. But are there any real differences? And the answer is no. So they've added a few bonus scenarios over the years, because I think 3 or 4 Friday Facts ago, we talked about how those that backed really early had 4 bonus scenarios that were finally released to the rest of us.
We pissed all that money away on
early access
scenarios. Early access scenarios that they gave away with Steam.
Yeah. But yeah, they're hidden in the scenarios menu with no explanation about what each scenario is, which is one thing that I've always noticed, that when you go into scenarios, you've got a big list, but unless you know what they are by opening them up, like the supply challenge, I'd never actually played it. And then I've seen some streamers play it, and that's how I learnt what it was, but I tried to boot it up single player and didn't have a lot of instructions, so I just quit. It was too hard.
I think I played that one multiplayer against Clown Town, and I had Clown Kid on my team, and we still beat Clown Town.
Oh, well, that's not setting a bar too high.
Pretty close.
Yeah. So, they believe it's pretty important to communicate with new players about the game's content. Also important to show that free play is the intended way to play, which I guess is how it's intended right at the moment, because they don't have any other way to play, sort of.
Yeah, more. They have some other stuff, but it pales in comparison to free play.
Yeah, free play is the only way to play currently, because the scenarios just don't really exist. So they redid the structure, and the new structure is going to be continue, and then single player with new and load game. Multiplayer with all the different multiplayer options, map editor, new scenario and converter save, settings with all the different settings options, mods, and about. And the most important thing I've noticed from this is Factorio just got worse because there's no quit game option.
Well, why do you need to quit?
The factory must grow. You can never leave.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, well you can quit any time, but do you want?
I've heard many players say they can quit any time, and then 4 a.m. rolled around, or the sun got up. Yep. So the first thing we might notice is the new continue button, which we'll get to. So since the start, since start the game and continue, my last save is probably the most common thing players will do. It makes sense there is an option to do this right from the top of the menu. The button will contain, the button will contain the name of your last save. Pressing it will immediately load the game and get you in game. Due to implementation complications, for now it only handles save games, and it will not connect you to the last server you played on if your last session was multiplayer, but it might implement that if it's highly requested. Consider it requested. Highly.
Yeah, I can see that being useful, but at the same time, maybe put that onto multiplayer. Like you could have one for either. Then you're sort of defeating the purpose of having the continue button.
You are, because continue is continue whatever you were last playing. Not otherwise single player and then continue, and then multiplayer and continue makes sense. Continue, I want it to continue whatever I was last playing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like if you're doing some multiplayer stuff and then you quit and to go away and do something and come back and say, oh, okay, I want to do that game again, just to continue. Yeah.
Like I've spent a lot of time playing on public servers, and I know there's a lot of times I've been on a really good map and my internet's dropped out, this has dropped out, that's dropped out, and 20 minutes later it comes back, or I've walked away, like you said, to go do things like cook dinner, because if you keep playing Factorio, you forget to eat. And I want to click continue because I don't know what server I was on. I probably went through 10 servers trying to find a decent one to play on to start with. So yeah, I really would like to see the continue button, just flat outright continue. The other thing that did come up is I'm hoping continue also automatically syncs your mods.
That's
with
my
whatever the
biggest
save is.
sticking point.
Well, I assume it would do that automatically.
Because, the assumption is that your mods since you last played would be the same, but at the same time they may not necessarily. And also you may have pulled out of the game to change mods, in which case the mods are not going to match, so you don't want them to synchronize the mods.
Well, see, if I've gone... So let's assume it doesn't work multiplayer. So I've gone in, I've played my single player game, which is heavily modified. I've pulled out, I've removed all my mods, and I've gone and played on a multiplayer server. If I close Factorio, go back in and click continue, it's going to continue my single player save, which means it should sync my mods, restart the game, boot back up, and continue my save.
In the perfect world, that would be the case, but having, as I say, the sticking point there is if you wanted to add or remove a mod, you could never actually press that button when you add or remove the mod. It would just turn that mod off.
Correct. So then you'd have to go in and load a game because you've actually added mods. So I think when you're adding mods, that's sort of a next level of gameplay experience, that you've gone and added more mods or removed mods. So you should be able to click the extra 3 buttons to click single player, load game, pick the save.
Could argue that it could prompt to say loaded mods. Mods or just prompt the menu for syncing mods.
Yeah.
Either just continue or synchronize.
Yeah, that's probably a better compromise. That way it covers all the bases. So yeah, I really want it to be able to continue multiplayer because I have separate installs. Some are purely for multiplayer maps, for different community servers and this sort of stuff. And I want to click continue button. And I guess I'd probably even extend that to if I'm hosting a game and I click continue, it should auto rehost the game with all the same settings. Just throwing that out there as a edge case. So yeah, the new game GUI shows all the different ways to play the game. It also grips them nicely. Places free play at the top. Shows a description and even a nice image. The GUI is used for new game, multiplayer hosting, and map editor, therefore simplifying the menu quite a bit. Because at the moment, I think all the menus are slightly different.
Yeah, they're all different, and they're all like all of these are in different menus. Well, actually, the scenarios are in the same thing, but it's not not broken up confidently. And I definitely didn't sneeze then.
I was going with yawn, but okay.
Yeah, so the scenarios are all grouped together, and like they're all. It's weird how it groups the scenario thing groups it. Like my thing is just impossible to find. It's actually interesting that it says mod scenarios there too, which is again wasn't really a thing before. It just all gets lumped together.
Well, the game scenarios are part of the ones in base Factorio, and there's been a lot of conversation recently about DLCs and what they're going to do after version 1.0. And I can see from this menu, I'm guessing...
It opens the world for FDLC pretty nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm guessing somebody's had the thought of, hey, let's include some DLCs that are new scenarios. And look, if scenarios are cheap and have good quality, then I can't see anybody arguing about paying a couple of bucks for them. And yeah, it means game scenarios, they're the ones done by the devs, okay? They're the ones that, the devs have put time and effort into. If stuff crashes, obviously it's going to get fixed, hopefully. Although with Woob, I could pretty much say it's guaranteed to get fixed. Whereas mod scenarios are obviously different things that, different members of the community have done. Hopefully they work, no guarantees. Generally, most of the mods around, most of the scenarios around the communities do work eventually. And then, of course, you got user scenarios down the bottom, which is, again, more scenarios, probably ones you've played with yourself or edited yourself, or I don't know. I don't really understand the difference between a mod scenario and a user scenario.
Mod scenario will be a scenario contained within a mod that you've loaded, whereas the user scenario is one that's stored in
base
Factorio directory slash scenario. It's in the app data roam.
I do like that Completron gets a birthday party in the user scenarios.
Oh yeah.
And Space Platform, that's the DLC that's coming from Factorio, I'm sure. And Little Big Adventure 3, yep. And Industrial Revolution, like we've got a little bit of everything in here.
You notice there's not a mod scenario too?
And not a what?
It's not a mod scenario, it's a user scenario.
Yeah, I did notice. Obviously, Twins has got a couple of projects in his free time. They've also updated scenario with scenario types, so they can have a description file, and it also means that they can add a multiplayer compatible. So at the moment, the only one that I remember is strictly multiplayer is the PvP challenge, so that's multiplayer only. But it also means there are some scenarios that work well in multiplayer, and there are other ones that just don't.
Well, the supply challenge isn't really much fun on your own. I mean, it works, but it's better head-to-head.
Yeah, it does. And also
team production challenge, actually, not supply challenge. Supply challenge is something different. That's the one where you start with absolutely nothing, and then you got to do the supply thing as fast as possible. You got to fill the 4 chests.
Yeah, that's the supply challenge. I didn't really get. But yeah, adding the description along with adding a picture. So I do like that. First, we had mods that finally got a chance to actually have a picture inside the game when you're on the mod portal in game, and now also scenarios will as well. Which does open up the question: are we going to have maybe we've got mods.factorio.com? Are we going to end up with scenarios.factorio.com?
Not likely, because the scenarios just package inside mods.
Yeah, I guess.
So you just load them that way.
But there's no quick in-game GUI way to go download the scenarios.
That is true. You have to know to download the mod.
So
currently what's it called? The factory floor scenario is the factory floor mod on the mod portal.
Okay, and then you download the mod and it gives you a scenario that you can go open up. Yeah.
And that gives you the scenario in the scenario list. It doesn't do anything else.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd like to see more scenarios. I know scenarios are fairly few and rare on the mod portal.
I've always wanted to see more scenarios, but at the same time, constraining the game to a narrative is actually really difficult to do.
It is.
That's actually the sticking point that I...
Well, they've done a lot of changes. I know the cutscene controller, which was released in 17, was a big addition that mods and what scenarios can use. but I haven't actually seen anybody use it. Not that I say it hasn't happened, but I haven't seen anybody
used
use it. Okay, I haven't. Oh, I didn't play it.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
You know, with the final wave defense and everything.
Oh, the
Yeah, because
so
the thing
Woob
zooms
only.
out and shows you the
okay.
next area to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the Woob new player experience. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, the cutscene
Yes.
that's the cutscene controller.
I saw that
in
one,
action.
but I haven't actually seen any user scenarios.
Oh, okay,
use
user
it.
scenarios.
Yep. Sorry, I had to clarify. I haven't seen any user scenarios use it, and I've looked at the code myself, and it's not easy to do.
No,
It's
it isn't.
really, really not easy to do. So, if any of the Factorio devs have a bit of downtime, can I suggest some sort of mod scripting element that'll let me use the cutscene controller easily and give me some code that I can paste into my scenarios? Yeah, just saying.
I always wanted some kind of script helper within like the scenario editor or something within game just to help automate scripts like that. Like if you wanted to position a particular position, you could click on that point in the game and you could add that code, that coordinate code. Like when you ping a place with the script editor open, it would give you that position.
Yeah, you can. I think
Like little automation tasks like that.
I think the best you can do is ping that location so you get the GPS coordinates and then have Notepad open
and then
type them in.
Copy and paste it out. Yeah, that's
which is
kind of annoying.
It's painful, yeah. So then we have Steam login and mini accounts. So again, Twinson's been playing with things in the background, and one of the things that whilst he was working on the main menu, he sort of got frustrated by the feature of once you buy the game on Steam, you then have to, if you want to play online, you then have to go to the Factorio webpage, register an account with a username and a password, which you're going to immediately lose and forget. And
I have a friend who's like that. Whenever he doesn't quite understand. I think I've mentioned this a few times. He doesn't quite understand the concept of modern games and how you need logins for multiplayer games to validate your identity.
I have a Steam account and I just booted up War Thunder. Okay, so I haven't played War Thunder in at least 3 years. I started playing Factorio and all my time disappeared. And
definitely not related.
No, definitely not related at all. I booted that up and I had two options. I could log in with my Steam account or log in with my, whatever they call, Ganjin account or whatever it is. I clicked log in with my Steam account, assuming it would log me in. Turns out it logged me into a brand new account. After much Googling to find out how to log out of that account, I then went and had to look up my email I could work out, but my password I had no idea. And it turns out, thankfully, I have a fairly extensive password manager that saved the password. And that's the only way I could recover my account. Otherwise, it would be like bad luck start from scratch. And I have sunk, I don't know how many hours in that game. It wouldn't happen. So yeah, look, I like the idea of Steam versions of the game. You can just log in and it will just automatically authenticate with Steam. You get to type in a nickname and you'll be good to go. And these will be tiny little mini accounts. So they're not a full Factorio.com account, but they let you play multiplayer. You can't post on the forums. You can't...
Forums actually uses a different account, I believe.
No, I use the Factorio.com account. At least I hope.
No, because I got two.
Oh, Mojo Special.
Yeah, I got two logins.
Okay, I think mine uses the same. But yeah, it means you... Well, what can you do on the Factorio webpage? You can log in, you can get your download straight from the Factorio webpage, so you can download the standalone version, you can download the headless server version, you can download the experimental versions. What else can you do from the Factorio webpage? You can
download your early access backer exclusives,
like the wallpapers that don't exist.
The wallpapers that I never got.
Yep. So you can download those if they existed. You can get your multiplayer API multiplayer token rather than your multiplayer password, which only helps if you only does anything if you're setting up multiplayer servers. There's not a lot of things you can do in the Factorio.com webpage.
Yeah. You can actually get the token from other sources too. I've never actually used the website to get it.
Okay, can you? I had no idea. I just grab it straight off the webpage. Although I think you can re-scramble the token on the webpage and issue yourself a new token.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had to do that once. So yeah, there's a couple of things you can do on the webpage, but not a lot. So I can see these mini accounts being much, much more common. But as we covered in a previous Friday Facts, like 99.6% of people have registered their Woob account on Steam to get a Steam key. And I'm assuming most of those people have gone and registered a Factorio.com account to play multiplayer. I wouldn't say everybody, but I'm willing to bet a large majority have. But yeah, with
anyone who's devoted to the game, anyone who's just playing it as a casual passing thing and just sort of meh, probably have.
Anybody who wants to play multiplayer has to, basically.
Yeah.
Well, has to join 99% of servers, because there are some servers that don't authenticate you, and that's fine.
Pirate servers.
Yeah, there are some pirate servers on there. Actually, I'm going to be posting a pirate LAN server in the future, so I can have multiple of my own accounts on my own PC logging into the same thing, so I can do multiple screen captures, which is really, really handy for a game like Factorio, and for a game like Satisfactory where I want to do the same thing. Turns out I had to buy several licenses to do that. So, you know.
I've done that before with Factorio, where I had several copies of myself logged in.
Yeah, it's handy to do certain things, but yeah, like 90, like I said, 9 out of 10 people I'm willing to bet have bothered to register an account to play multiplayer and have probably lost their password somewhere, and as long as Steam remembers it, they're okay. But yeah, we can see a lot more of these mini accounts going forward. I think with 1.0 coming out, it's a great idea. And then we get to... and these changes are ready to be released, and you should see them as soon as we release 18, which is in...
Ready for 18, which is Feb 30.
Yeah, no, it's soon trademark. Yeah,
which means that's code word for Feb 30.
Feb 30, yep. So then we come on to the last part of Friday Facts, the file share shenanigans. So, I guess every office needs to share around files, and you can either do that on every local PC and have everybody share like a dump folder, or set up one single network location where everybody just throws their crap there and everybody else can access it. And
like a modern productive office.
Yeah, a computer that sits in the corner that has a few hard drives spared into it called dump 1, dump 2, dump 3.
Yeah, well, ideally you would have something a little bit more sophisticated than broken old PC.
Robust, sophisticated?
Yeah. Sophisticated, robust, whichever you prefer.
Yeah.
There are a lot of words that could be used to describe a more optimal solution.
Yes, and the old PC in the corner full of hard drives that are shared is generally more common. But anyway, a few years ago, they were using a collection of hard drives stuffed on a leftover workstation as an office shared drive. Not robust at all, or sophisticated. This drive had all sorts of stuff on it, from unfinished art assets to a collection of pictures of developers in a wind tunnel. We had it all. I'm wondering where that picture is. Why is that picture not included in the Friday Facts?
Picture's not included. You mean you have a look at the picture below? There's quite a lot of things you probably want.
There is. The inevitable day came. They ran out of hard disk space. Decision was made at the time to buy some new high-density drives and put them in a QNAP enclosure. Basically, a little computer with four mounted hard drives, 4 front-mounted hard drive bays, a special software on it for file shares and management. We figured it should be less hassle since it's designed to be used by normal people. So this is your basic NAS. It's not quite a home grade NAS. It's not a commercial grade NAS. It's sort of a halfway.
Sits in that halfway in between these things. I actually have one. I had a QNAP, which is it was meant for what's the term? Soho. Small
office, home office.
Yeah, small office, home office.
Yeah,
it's one of those kind of things.
It's designed for that like we're not in a proper office environment where we're not a home user. That, like, I've got 2 NASs. They are a single hard drive that has a little bit of computer circuit board attached to the hard drive and a network port at the back. That's it. They are really the home versions. Yeah, this is a little bit more powerful, but it's not full commercial grade. But the idea is these things is they're very simple to set up. They're designed for people that don't have a lot of expertise, and it even had a friendly GUI with a little clippy guy. God, we hate the paperclip.
So even close to a bloody paperclip.
It doesn't matter. Everybody hates the damn paperclip. So
I've been through this before. The paperclip was really easy to turn off the first time he comes up, and he never comes.
I know. And he always got turned off. The second I installed Office, off with the paperclip. Yep. So we have their lovely little network share, and we have some interesting items in here. We have the Factorio 1760 SFX, which is sounds, which I'm guessing is where they hid the artillery sounds that we still don't have.
Yeah, that'll be your artillery sounds.
Yep. The campaign, which I want to play. The Spidertron release. Twinston's junk files. Waybag Saggy Bags folder. The Completron plush pattern. So lots of people have demanded that. They really want to get hold of the plush pattern so they can stitch together their own Completron.
Yep.
Dominic's next project, so they're already thinking about the future.
Yeah, he's already on the next project.
Yep, Horse Armor DLC.
Someone's been playing a lot of WoW. Well, actually, that's Oblivion. It's a notorious DLC, that one.
Is it? I was wondering whether we're going to get horses coming to Factorio.
No, the Horse Armor DLC was basically the beginning of the microtransactions era. Because it was like $5 or something for the horse armor. It was purely cosmetic.
Oh, really? Oh, one of those.
Yeah. And then it's actually funny because I have it. And do you know how I got it? I got it on a bundled DLC DVD upon release.
Okay. We have pipes in Satisfactory test. So
yes, now you know where the pipes are that are in Satisfactory.
The pipes that are missing from Satisfactory. Yep, Weeb's borrowed them. And we have train lasers, which definitely every train needs more lasers.
Yes, everything needs more lasers.
Everything needs more lasers. So that was their little vault. And then we have the Shenanigans. So after 3 months, their little NAS died. Didn't power on. Just dead. Of course, they start the return process, but it's going to take a month to get the replacement sorted, which to me sucks, right?
Yeah.
I've sold computers for years, and I started dealing with larger and larger brands, and basically got to a situation where I was dealing purely with Intel because they did advanced RMAs. So if I said, hey, I've got a dead motherboard or a dead CPU, they'd be like, yeah, not a problem. We'll ship you out one today. When it gets there, we'll give you a little baggie. You can put it in and ship it back to us. And I'm really surprised. Like, I admit this is a Soho NAS, so it's not commercial grade. But I'm really surprised they're just like, oh no, bad luck. You ship it to us, we'll confirm it's dead, and then we'll ship you out a replacement.
A lot of places tend to lean that way now. Like, I know, what are they called? MSI? Okay. Yeah, MSI. When you ship it back, they, like a motherboard or a piece of hardware, they take a picture of it and then compare it with a picture with when they assembled it.
Oh, okay.
They actually take pictures of all their hardware as they assemble it. Part of their process. I don't know if Gigabyte does the same thing. That's very likely they do, and that they've all adopted this strategy and have been for a while. This
is to check whether there's been user damage.
Yeah, any funny business.
Yeah.
Because this actually gets into a whole deep, dark grey area where people... it's actually especially the case with iPhones and the whole... It touches on the right to repair thing, where the other side of it is... people are buying a product and then swapping out the parts and then returning it.
Oh yeah. I've encountered that. No, I don't know. Maybe it's more rare in Australia. I've encountered it just a little bit. But yeah,
it exists everywhere in varying degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I mention Apple because that's incredibly prevalent. Like, I think for Australia, it is probably the most. I don't have enough facts to back it up, but I would say it's probably the most common part swap that comes up.
Yeah, it
where
would
they'll
be.
swap out like iPhone screens with knockoffs and then return.
Yeah, it would be because Apple's very, very expensive here, and I don't know whether we've had any shipments stopped of Apple parts, but I got a lot of friends that are in the phone repair business, and there are some times where they cannot buy parts at all. They just don't exist. anywhere in
Yeah,
the country.
because Apple, they actually anything that goes into scrap is actually partial. Well, I say destroyed. It's actually partially destroyed, and then dumpster divers actually go through the bins and reclaim the the spare parts that way.
Oh wow! Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's how you get. That's how people who do like a lot of phone repairs. It's actually true from a lot of phones and laptops.
Yeah,
Is
well,
that the spare parts are actually dumpster divers.
I have Samsungs, and I do know how expensive a screen is because I've had to do a screen on probably every second phone, so once every 4 years. But yeah, they are not exactly cheap. And
Yes.
Samsungs, you don't have that many knockoffs actually, whereas Apples you do, because Apples are way more common. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
It makes sense to do knockoffs, and Samsung's just happy to, like, you want a screen? Yeah, you just go on the Samsung webpage and buy it straight from us. Not a problem.
Yeah, and that's actually Samsung's solution to the problem
Yep.
is to flood the market with genuine parts to keep the trade of counterfeit parts down.
Yep.
Whereas Apple's approach is more to lock down the supply chain, which isn't. I don't want to defend it in what they do because because the effect of what they do is it actually drives even more counterfeiting. We're going on a huge tangent here, but yeah. What they're doing is they're driving more counterfeiting by locking it down tighter. So they lock it down tighter, so they drive up the price of counterfeiting. So they're sort of creating this artificially inflated demand. Which Samsung doesn't have to deal with.
Nope. Samsung's just like, yep, it's on the webpage, go buy it. So, back to Woob.
Moving swiftly along.
They got stuck.
The whole counterfeiting thing is a whole subject in itself. With electronics.
So back to Woob, they did what any reasonable capitalist would do. They had to go out and buy another one. So and sent off the first one for return. So on a side note, we couldn't read their data directly off their drives out of the broken QNAP. The QNAP OS is just like Linux with a custom GUI on top, so expect we could read our files by plugging them into another Linux machine. But no, QNAP have customized their Linux kernel in a way that makes it impossible to read on a normal install. And then, for those interested, they modified the LVM, which means nothing to me, to add in some more
efficient... It's a thing that does stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Mojo. More efficient form of snapshottings, from what I can tell. But yeah, it's a vendor lock-in, which I am really, really, really hate. So yeah,
I would. It's probably as much vendor lock-in as it is shimming as much efficiency as possible out of the Linux, which I suspect is what's going on.
Is it worth adding that tiny bit of efficiency to remove the fact that people can access their data easily on something that's designed to back up your data? My answer would be no. That's just it, plain and simple.
It probably always works out cheaper to do it that way. Shim to just trim down the OS a little bit, and you might need a little bit less RAM than to just put more RAM on it.
Yeah, it's like I said, to me, it's not worth it. My data is what I've bought this thing to back up, and I want to be able to access my data, so therefore, it's not worth it to me. Like I said, I've got two NASs. One of them died after about 3 years, because hard drives last about 3 years. I managed to get all my data off it by just plugging into a computer, into an external drive.
What do you do to your hard drives?
Put lots of data on and off them. Generally bad things. But on to Shenanigans Part 2. Come on, Mojo, you're getting sidetracked. They killed a second one.
I did my best.
14 months later. Their second NAS, or the first one that got replaced, either way, also died. So they began to question their decisions. So they basically went back to their original setup, was a PC running the ZFS file system, which I've read on the forums, Reddit, lots of people arguing for and against the file system.
You go into the open source, that sort of. I say open source. It's the neckbeard realm. You end up in flame. You're in the front lines trenches of the flame war of the great flame war.
Yeah, like I said, I've just got. In my case, I've actually gone with cloud-based backup, and I'm done. I'm paying not a lot for it, and I'm happy with it. and a couple of NASs. That's it. I'm done. I'm done.
An interesting side, or I say interesting, it's actually a key side note is that when you buy a NAS, like this QNAP or my QNAP, which I don't have anymore, or the current NAS that I have, because I had a QNAP which ran for 4.5 years just fine. It's still running on the original hard drive. I actually sold off the original hard drives. They had 30,000 hours on the clock, 32,000 hours, something like that.
Okay.
They're probably still running to this day. But yeah, it actually has a big warning that says to back up your data on this device regularly, and to have a backup.
Yes.
Backup for the backup.
You should always have a backup for the backup. I've
A
actually
full backup and data disaster recovery.
Yeah, I have important data that's on my NASs, which is duplicated once a month from NAS 1 to NAS 2 to external hard drive to cloud. So I'm covered 4 different ways from Sunday. But, it's in my case, it's only probably about 2 terabytes, so not a massive amount. Whereas I know in an office situation, it can get very large very, very quickly, especially when you're dealing with source code, pipes in Satisfactory, train lasers, the next project, and plush buttons. Yep.
You gotta fill up a NAS with Spidertrons as well.
No, you can't forget Spidertrons. God, those webs take up so much space.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they went back to their original their original solution, and I'm actually surprised. So they're a development house, so they know how to program. Their original solution was a Linux computer full of hard drives. And for people that are not at base level technical knowledge, they definitely have some decent technical knowledge. They've built their own PCs for all the work computers. Why they ever went to a Soho NAS in the first place? Like, I would have said go either full commercial to have that full commercial backup, probably include some sort of cloud backup included in the package, or just stick with, like, throw a couple more hard drives into a computer in the corner.
The better option would have been gone for either build your own Linus Tech, maybe not full Linus Tech Tip specs now, because you may not have $100,000 to piss away.
Yeah, they're sort of over the top. Yep.
One of those more suitably rated NASs rather than the desktop one. Although, having said that, again, the desktop ones are not that bad. I've never heard of a QNAP dying, let alone 2 dying in such a short amount of time.
Well, you said it before we started.
Yeah, I think dirty power.
Yeah.
The fact that it just wouldn't power on anymore means it's probably in both cases killed their power supply. Whatever power supply they have in Prague, whatever their electrical grid is probably just killed it. Yeah. And that it's very likely that they in fact don't have a line interactive UPS connected to it.
That's what I would.
Or more accurately, they probably have a basic UPS connected to it, a modified crap wave
modified sine
UPS
wave
connected to it.
Yeah.
No, just a crap wave, not a sine wave. A sine wave should be line interactive.
Okay. All right. So yeah, look, I can agree. I've in my time living in the city I live in, I've been fairly lucky that every house I've lived in, I've actually checked the power either when I've moved in or shortly thereafter, and I haven't had an issue. Whereas I do have a friend who lives, funnily enough, literally in the suburb between 2 other suburbs that I've lived in, and he has a UPS that goes off every 10 minutes in the background because his power's that bad. And
mine actually goes off maybe once every 3 months for the voltage being too high.
So his goes off for the voltage being too low or too high or just bad or everything. And it goes off probably once every 3 hours. It's not uncommon to be there.
That's pretty bad.
Hear the UPS just let out a beep or 2 in the background. So yeah, dirty power can be really, really bad for your components, and it's probably one of the reasons why he goes through components so fast, even with a UPS. I actually haven't run a UPS for about 10 years now because I've been fairly okay with the power that I've got. But, in saying that, the current house, the mains keep flicking because something is doing bad things to the wiring, and yeah, may need a UPS in the future. Anyway, I think that's it for the Friday Facts and the complete sidetracks into
Apple.
Yep, Apple and Samsung and dumpster diving. Yep. So anything else?
I think I had something before and I've forgotten what it is, so it can't have been that. Oh yeah, there is actually a link about Linus Was it
Yes.
Linus?
Misinformed
Linux-
statements from highly influential
Yeah, Linus
figures.
Torvalds. He basically blows off ZFS. It's an interesting.
Yeah, I haven't read that one, but yeah, it's from what I read between the forums and Reddit, it's an interesting read, and yeah, and it's Linus.
It's all
Linus.
neckbeards being open source neckbeards being childish. The as the trenches of the eternal flame war continue burning.
But Mojo, just for clarification, it's Linus, the inventor of Linux, not Linus as in
No,
Linus
it's not.
Tech
It's Linus Torvalds, not Linus Sebastian.
Yeah, there you go. Because there's two very influential Linuses nowadays. Anyway.
Yes, one's European, one's Canadian.
Yeah. All right, that's it from Friday Facts 330. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed. And hopefully our continue button in the future will do multiplayer games as well. That's it. Bye.
Bye-bye.